Elon Musk said that his AI brain chips company could solve autism and schizophrenia. Okay, that sounds okay. That sounds fine. Why are people upset about this? From like eugenics argument? Why is this picture so big? What? Let's see. Elon Musk thinks his neural technology company, Neuralink, will be able to solve schizophrenia and autism. On the latest artificial intelligence podcast with Lex Friedman, published today, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO was asked about his most exciting effects of forensics for Neuralink, whose goal is to develop an AI-enabled chip that could be implanted in a person's brain to record brain activity and potentially stimulate it. So Neuralink, I think, at first will solve a lot of brain-related issues, Musk said. So it could be anything like autism, schizophrenia, memory loss. Like everyone experiences memory loss at certain points in their age or points in age. Parents can't remember their kids' names, that kind of thing. It was not clear what Musk meant by saying Neuralink could solve autism, which is not a disease but a developmental disorder. Yeah, but it's sure. I mean, it's a developmental disorder, but it's like your brain's obviously not functioning in the same way that like for lack of a term, normal person's brain would work. What do you I don't know. It would solve the issues that come along with being autistic. Like it's not easy to be autistic. I don't understand. Like people, I would imagine, would choose to not be autistic if they didn't have to be. And I don't think anybody would choose to be autistic except for TikTok kids that desperately want attention. So like, yeah, this could help a lot of people in a very positive way. It's very difficult to adjust to society as somebody with like autism, for instance, or schizophrenia, especially. I feel like the only people with autism that would complain about this are very high functioning people that don't really represent the rest of the community of people that have autism. So like, I just want to kind of go through here. This is like a real thing. So we have like a spectrum. This is the autism spectrum, we'll say, right? This is like the spectrum of autism. And we'll say like, this is somebody that's very like low functioning here. This is somebody that's very like high functioning. From really a clinical perspective, everybody on the spectrum requires some form of support. Now we have an addition to the spectrum of people that have autism, diagnosed with autism, that are high functioning. But these people tend to be like very high functioning to the point where they don't need support. And so like when we talk about like, so what happens is like these people usually in this bracket, they still need support. Like it might be therapy. A lot of people, like you would generally expect, like for the most part, people that are very low functioning, they would need to be in like a home, like a group home with other people with disabilities, with like this direct support for professionals and whatnot. People who are more high functioning, and like I guess the more clinical term you would say, are people who could live on their own, but they would usually live in a facility that requires like a DSP to show up like once a week or maybe once or twice a week just to see how they're doing and to help them with a couple of things. And then we have high functioning, which is people that usually really don't need really any support. Maybe they need to like deal with their behaviors in a particular way, like figure out how to deal with their behaviors. And then they can deal with it on their own. This is still like, obviously there's still people here like they still struggle with autism, but like I say high functioning because like this is like the not really necessarily a clinical high functioning. So yeah, so a lot of times you see people who are incredibly high functioning and they really don't represent this community back here at all. They don't really understand how impactful it can be. And my wife is a behavioral specialist, and like people with very like lower functioning autism is very difficult to deal with that, and to not like personally for the person that has it. And so people feel like the people who would get upset are people who are high functioning that like don't really experience the issues of people that are within this bracket. That's what it is. It's like people in this bracket that don't experience the same issues as people with this bracket that would be like, oh my God, like this, what does he mean by cure? There's nothing wrong with me. It's like, okay. But usually like I have ADHD. There's something wrong with me. You'd be nicer and say like there's something like different about me, of course, but it's not easy. I have Tourette's too. Like I do a lot of tics, right? I wish I didn't. If there was like a Neuralink that would able to make it so I would no longer tick, I would love to do that because it gets very distressing sometimes when I'm like locked in like a fucking attack. It's really bad. It actually really upsets me and it fucks me up. And sometimes it happens when I'm driving, and that can be very dangerous. And so like when you say something is wrong with you or curing something, like it's an insensitive thing to say, sure, but like you know that they don't mean like, oh, fuck autistic people. It's more of just like, oh, hey, like this is something that's an issue, and it would be easier to address a society if you didn't have particular struggles to deal with. So this is a great thing, and we're not even like, I doubt that anybody would be speaking out against schizophrenia, because schizophrenia is like horrible. Like nobody's gonna be like, oh my god, being schizophrenic is fine. Like it's harsh, it sucks. The UK National Autistic Society says autism is not an illness or a disease and cannot be cured. Okay, so like, often people feel being autistic is a fundamental aspect of their identity. That's fine if you feel like it's your identity, but this is what, you remember the painting we just did that I got rid of for some reason? Those are the people that are within the right side bracket, the people who are very high functioning. A lot of people, like, it's not an illness. I get that. It's like a developmental disorder. What would you call it? Whatever. But if you can cure it, if you can make it easier to manage it, why wouldn't you? So yeah, the World Health Organization describes schizophrenia as a severe mental disorder. Okay. Musk founded Neuralink in 2016. First few years of existence, the company was relatively selective or secretive. This year, Neuralink has been more vocal. It published a white paper about its design and brain chip. Musk excelling announced the company. Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is a good thing. I don't know if it's possible. That seems like a pretty crazy thing. But, you know, I don't see an issue with it. I can't imagine anybody's like, you know, people like really upset about it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was actually interesting. Do you see ideas in your brain like you draw them out in paint, like all abbreviations and graphics? No, I don't think so. I don't really know how I interpret things. I've never really thought about the way that I like the way that I think. Does that make sense? I don't know how I don't know if I've ever thought about like, oh, how do I think? That's an interesting question though. I'll think about it.